The interest rate chart on your banker's screen hasn't moved in 6 months, and the Fed just signaled it might move in the wrong direction. I'm Drew. This is Main Street Operator. Welcome to the week of June 15th. 3 stories today. The credit environment right now for operators who need capital. A supply chain readiness problem that 62% of small businesses have already paid for in lost revenue. And what you need to do before Thursday if you have hourly staff. On financing, the Federal Reserve has not cut its benchmark rate a single time in 202.6. Prime sits at 7.5%, where it has been since the fall of 2025. Here is what changed in the last 60 days, with inflation climbing back to its highest level in 3 years. The market is no longer pricing in cuts by year-end. It is pricing in the possibility of a hike. If you have been waiting for rates to fall before pulling the trigger on a capital project, you may be waiting through a move in the wrong direction. Here is where rates actually sit right now. SBA 7A loans, the most common vehicle for small business financing, are running between 9.75 and 14.75%, depending on loan size and term. SBA 504 loans, structured for real estate and major equipment purchases, are running in the 5 to 7% range on the fixed debenture portion. The SBA closed fiscal year 2025 with a record $44.8 billion in guaranteed loans, which means demand is high and lender scrutiny is up. Approval timelines for SBA loans run 60 to 90 days in a normal queue. The action this week, if you have a capital project on your list, equipment, a vehicle, a facility, a second location, run the debt service numbers at current rates today, not at the rates you were mentally budgeting 2 years ago. If the project pencils at 10%, you have your answer. If it only works at 6%, that is also an answer. And it is better to know now than to spend another 6 months waiting on a cut that may not come. And if you do not have a banking relationship ready, start building one this week. Not because you are ready to sign, but because SBA approvals require a file, and files do not get built overnight. On supply chains, new survey data from Digital Commerce 360 shows that 72% of small and mid-sized businesses have no real-time visibility into their supply chains, and 51% say their supply chain disruption plan has never been tested. For most of that group, there is no plan. There's a vague assumption that the vendor will call if something goes wrong. The number that stings: 62% of operators surveyed have already lost revenue or missed sales in the past 12 months because of supply chain failures. Not from a theoretical future disruption, from problems they already lived through and absorbed. The operators who navigated those disruptions better were not necessarily the ones with the cheapest suppliers. They were the ones who had mapped their dependencies before the disruption hit and had at least one fallback option in mind. This is a different problem from what the cost per month tariff data tells you. That story is about money. This one is about readiness, about knowing what you depend on before you are forced to find out under pressure. The action this week: list your 5 most critical suppliers or vendors, the sources where a problem directly stops your ability to operate or deliver. For each one, answer 2 questions. What percentage of my business touches this vendor? And what is one alternative I could turn to if I needed one in 30 days? You do not need to vet the alternative or negotiate a contract this week. Just name it. That list changes how clearly you think when something breaks. On Thursday, this country observes Juneteenth National Independence Day. For you as an employer, the most important fact right now is that there is no federal law requiring private employers to pay overtime or holiday pay to hourly workers on federal holidays, including Juneteenth. But 23 states have enacted their own laws and guidelines that may apply to your workers, and the rules vary enough that it is worth a 5-minute check on your state labor department's website before Thursday if you have hourly staff working that day. The business side, the window from Thursday through Sunday, shows higher foot traffic for restaurants, retailers, and entertainment businesses in communities with active Juneteenth observances. Communicate your hours this week to your staff and your customers. Wrong hours on Google Maps cost you real walk-in business. And if your community is gathering, think about how you show up as a business, not just whether your sign is on. The operators who acknowledge this holiday well tend to build goodwill that lasts past the weekend. The ones who handle it poorly tend to find out that customers noticed. Friday, we are back with the story of a New Hampshire logistics operator who bought his building in a recession and spent the next 24 years being right about that call. Plus a tool that puts your Google review pipeline on autopilot for $75 a month. I'm Drew. See you Friday on Main Street Operator.